I want to thank you all for joining this panel discussion. My name is Anton Janssen. I come from North Carolina, and I work for a company called Parada. I'm the manager of legal affairs and risk management.
So I'm Chris Mandel. I'm the Senior Vice President of Strategic Solutions for Cedric, which is a Memphis, Tennessee-based company involved in risk management services. One of the bigger providers in the claims and productivity management space.
My name is Paddy Duffy. I'm the founder and chairman of a company called RMI, Risk Management International, here in Ireland. RMI has been in existence for some 20 years now. We are essentially a board risks advisory. Our services range from a menu of services in the area of risk governance through to threat research and intelligence. And we have what we call the RMI Risk Resilience Continuum that can be found on our website at rmi.ie. Our perspective on risk, and I suppose you'll see it in the thoughts I will share with you, are substantially influenced by our experience as advisors through, at this stage now, hundreds of board level incidents and deep board level involvement with chairmen and CEOs of companies, a lot of them EMEA regional directors, people saying, from our foreign direct investment companies here, people wondering, on a Sunday morning when the newspapers are hitting their desks and saying, how did I get here? We thought we did everything right. We thought we asked all the right questions, and they didn't. So our perspective on risk is very much one of working out what works and what doesn't work. But myself, I spent a couple of years in the US, where I worked with some very fine folk on COSO 2, putting together a service model where essentially we tried to work out, within these hundreds of pages of the COSO document itself and supporting material, what really is it asking people to do? We actually discerned 70 discrete things that people had to do, and maybe 100 in total, because certain things repeated more than once. Here in Ireland, I'm a member of the National Standards Authority of Ireland Expert Committee on Risk, and that body, that NSAI, that is the body which represents Ireland within the ISO framework. So I'm deeply familiar with, for example, 4360, of course, and 31000. Thank you.
Wow, very good. Both of you have a lot of experience with implementing enterprise risk and strategic risk management. What would you say is one of the keys in the success of implementing it that you have seen?
My experience is largely, yes, they would parallel Chris's. I suppose my perspective is, in this day and age, and even for the last decade, it really has never been too difficult to get board level interest and involvement in the whole matter of risk. However, it's a different thing getting board level traction. And the difference between the two is that board level traction is all about saying, okay, let's take out the strategic plan and trying to discern from the high level aspirational statements, the high level goals, what are the actual objectives? And then getting into a series of mapping exercises on mapping objectives, mapping what matters most to the achievement of those objectives. Is it customer service, profitability, cash, what? And then, of course, getting to the critical point of, mapping our desire to take particular risks in pursuit of superior returns and our ability to absorb things if they go wrong. Senior people quite often don't like that level of detailed interrogation. And the biggest challenge, it's getting moderately easier now because more of the non-exec directors are demanding that better discussions, deeper questioning is taking place at the board level. So it's all about, risk starting at the top as distinct from risk being driven from the end up at the process level up. I conclude by saying we have a test in RMI, a little rule set in RMI. It's called the tell me, show me, prove it to me rule. Very senior people, you'd give them 8, 9 out of 10. The processes are in place, the policies are in place, the strategic plans are in place, as you'd expect in good organizations. But then the show me rule, people go from 9 out of 10 down to 5 or 6 out of 10. Why? you ask people, you know, describe the journey of the information from risk owners out in the organization to when it ultimately ended up on the register, the risk register. So many organizations have risk registers that are little more than just lists of risks, because they're not linked back into objectives and they just don't fit. And that's why quite often everything is fine up until the point you get to the boardroom door. Once you get beyond the boardroom door, there's a different dynamic and a disconnect quite often. And then finally on the prove it to me rule, I'd say, okay, bring me to, you know, a risk owner. Leave me alone with that risk owner. And I want to find out from that person, what have they done in the context of the whole process level stuff. And what you find invariably, and now at this point we're at 1, 2 out of 10, what you find invariably is that the people who populate the risk register, the people who people the risk framework and all those committees, they're more risk functionaries than they are risk owners. And that's a problem. But I think, you know, we're getting better as we go along.
Absolutely. Very good. What would you advise people? You know, there are people that have a lot of experience with risk management, some not as much. What would you advise people that just start rolling out risk management in their company?
Whether a company is greenfield or brownfield in getting the risk management framework up and running, greenfield meaning, you know, they don't exist on the maturity curve, and brownfield meaning they're at the just below the midway point. I think the most important question to ask of the triumvirate, the chairman, the CEO, and that non-exec director who is chair of the audit committee with the, you know, the charter extension to risk, or the risk committee, whichever way the company has set it up. There's really only one question to ask. Do you want risk as a built-in, or do you want risk as a bolt-on? The difference between built-in and bolt-on, you're either bolting risk functions at the end, or everybody in the process at every layer of the organization are involved in thinking about, where am I going? Where do I want to get to? What can stop me? What can slow me down? Do I want to go faster? If I want to go faster, of course I need better brakes, meaning risk and so forth. That's the difference between bolt-on and built-in. Too many organizations really, they start at the end. You know, they start at the process level and we end up with lists of risks, but they don't start asking the question at the level of the board, going back to, you know, where are we going? Mapping our objectives, mapping what really matters to the achievement of each objective. And, you know, those discussions, whether they're held internally or externally, it doesn't really matter. They're very, you know, this is really just organized common sense. There's nothing very complex about it, though sometimes we as risk professionals, we like to talk with a lot of jargon, but realistically speaking, unless you can bring the discussions down to their simplest, you're blind, you have documentation, but you really don't have any effective risk systems and so forth. So I say start at the start, decide, is it built in or bolted on risk that you want? That'd be the first question that I would ask. And if you get the right answer, then you're going to succeed ultimately and have a safer environment and more consistently achieving your objectives.
I want to thank you both, gentlemen, for your time and great insight that you provided today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to be with you.